Welcome to Civics in a Year, the podcast that makes civic literacy fast, accessible, and surprisingly engaging. In just 10 minutes an episode, we'll tackle one of 250 essential questions about American democracy, how it works, why it matters, and what it means for you. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or just someone who wants to better understand your country and your rights, you're in the right place. Civics in a Year is powered by the Civic Literacy Curriculum from the Center for American Civics and is produced in partnership with the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership at Arizona State University.
My name is Max. I'm a fifth grader from Arizona. My question is, why is the Declaration of Independence still important today?
Thank you, Maxwell, for that question. Today, I'm excited to introduce a new scholar. We have Dr. Stephen Skultety, who is a professor of philosophy, the chair of the Philosophy and Religion Department, and the director of the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom at the University of Mississippi. Stephen, thank you so much for being here. So the question is, why is the Declaration still important today? What can you tell us?
Well, Liz, as I've thought about this fantastic question, I guess I come back again and again to three big things. And so here's the first. What it means to be an American isn't just infinitely plastic. It can't be anything to everyone at all times. It really does mean something rather than nothing. And I think you can see that in the document right when you start out, how there's this announcement that when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another. Notice there's this idea that Americans are a people and that there are other people out there in the world, but we're one in some important way. And, you can see that in other ways in the document as well. So, for example, famously, we hold these truths to be self-evident. I mean, that we is picking out a way the American people are going to believe things, right? And even in the middle of the Declaration, when you're listing all of these grievances against the King of England, notice there's an assumption there that when Americans read these grievances, they're going to get angry. They're going to be indignant. So there's also an assumption that we share a lot of the same emotions. We share a kind of a psychological repertoire that'll make us respond in a certain way that other people may not. And then, the document obviously ends too with an announcement that we as a people are going to be doing something together. So it presupposes that we're acting together as a people. So, I think that's the first big thing. As Americans, we're one people with shared beliefs, shared emotions, a shared sense of justice, and then ready to act together as well. And I think the second big thing that I think about when I think about the importance of the Declaration of Independence is I think the key idea that's communicated that I think continues to resonate with all Americans, no matter kind of where they are on any given political spectrum, is that we as Americans think of each other as having been created equal. And by thinking of ourselves as being created equal, what we mean is that, look, people might be better or worse at this or that, or more talented in this or that, or even have some opportunities that others don't. But at the end of the day, no one or no group of people is so much better or so much superior to anyone else that they deserve to have unaccountable, complete, and total control over any other group of Americans. We're going to ensure that no matter what kind of government we set up, there's this key idea that no one is just different in kind from anyone else that would justify some kind of absolute government. And then finally, the final thing I'll just mention, it may seem so obvious that it's not even worth talking about it, but when I hear other people talk about the Declaration, they don't mention this. And here's the idea. This is a declaration, not a description. And what I mean by that is this. I think a lot of people, when they look at the sweep of history, they're tempted to think that history is kind of unfolding in some sort of unalterable process, or all things inevitably, even there might be hiccups here and there, all things inevitably are kind of going toward one sort of goal. And those of us who step back and think about this, we can, our best efforts are really just to offer a great description of the way things are unfolding in a sort of inevitable process. And it's just so interesting to me and kind of exciting to me that the Declaration of Independence is saying, you know what? We control history. We are ready to do something that's going to make history. We're not just here to describe it. We're not here to describe a process. We're here to act. And so it's somewhat funny to me that some people turn to the Declaration and actually cite it as part of some inevitable process. Whereas when I look at it, I see a group of feisty people who are saying, you know what? Nothing is inevitable. It's time for a fight, and it's time to make a difference in history through action. So I think those are the three big things I would say, is that the Declaration of Independence teaches us that being an American isn't just anything. It's something of one people. It's built on this profound and interesting idea that we're all created equal, and that means that we're only going to accept some forms of government. And then finally, this is a declaration that we're going to make history rather than just a description of the way history unfolds.
So what would you say to a student who, is studying this? So the student who asked the question is a fifth grader, or maybe a seventh grader, a high schooler, that says, who cares? This was written 250 years ago. What does it have to do with me?
Well, I think all of those lessons or principles or insights that I just attempted to offer, they're directly bearing on students of all ages. It's easy to just live your life in accordance with certain assumptions that'll sort of make you think more or less about different kinds of things. And so I would just tell your fifth grader or your seventh grader that the ideas captured here in the Declaration of Independence are going to shape the course of their life, whether they like it or not. To be a little cheeky about it, you may not be interested in the Declaration of Independence, but the Declaration of Independence is interested in you.
I love that.
Because being here in America means there's some just basic premises about the way we're going to behave, and that you can expect people to act and react. And if you want to understand that terrain that you're living your life in, you need to stop and think about this incredible and very profound document. Now, of course, that doesn't mean there's not going to be debates and scholarly differences and ideas about, hey, if the Declaration is this, what's going to follow from that? And we can get into all sorts of fascinating discussions and debates about it. But there are these core starting points built into this document that really do affect our lives, no matter how old you are.
Thank you so much. I feel like as a former teacher, that's, I think students always think, well, these documents are more for adults, or once you can vote. And, we're really trying to shine a light like you just did on, no, this is actually everybody. So it doesn't really matter how old you are. Yeah. And I that quote, you may not care about the Declaration, but the Declaration cares about you, is just so wonderful. Dr. Skultety, thank you so much for your expertise. We really appreciate having you on.
It was my pleasure, Liz. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Civics in a Year. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who cares about a constitutional republic as much as you do. For more episodes, resources, and updates, follow us on social media or visit us at civics.asu.edu. Make sure to check out the show notes for any relevant links. Special thanks to the United States Marine Band for their performance of the Stars and Stripes Forever. Let's keep building a stronger constitutional republic, one episode at a time.